Hi, and welcome to our first Q&A. Thank you everyone for so many questions. Some really interesting questions out there, aren't there?
Yeah.
So we're going to plan to do a few sessions of this, because I don't think you want to see us chatting for hours. So yes, we'll probably just answer a few questions today and a few questions next time.
Maybe 3 or 4. We'll see how we get on.
Yeah, we'll see how we get on. But thank you so much.
And we've collected these questions up from our Facebook group, where people have been asking us the questions, and also from YouTube, haven't we?
We have, yeah. And there's some very amazing questions out there, some creative people. So, should we crack on with the first one?
Yep.
Okay. So, from David Ackerman, it says, simple question, maybe a long answer. What were the factors you took into account in choosing your current camper van? I'll give the short answer, actually. Luna chose it for us. We were on a campsite in our motorhome, and we weren't even thinking of buying a van, were we?
No.
We had just been doing up our motorhome. We'd had him all reupholstered, new curtains. It was looking beautiful. And Luna decided she wanted to walk a different way around the campsite. And as we walked round this campsite, we just saw this vision of loveliness. And it was a CV20, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was just like, that was the perfect size. It was like love at first sight, really. We saw this van and thought, that's the perfect size van. We didn't know what it was, just thought, wow, that's amazing. And we needed to find out more about it, didn't we?
It was a little bit, we saw that, we want that. We've got a local dealer here in Newport, and when we went there to have a look, they didn't have the CV20, which was basically the 2 single bed version. So it's just got one lounge at the back without the dinette in the front. They didn't have that for us to look at, did they? Which we were a bit disappointed about. But they had something called a CV40, which is what we eventually bought. And that is the one with the slightly smaller living area. So you have to sleep transverse in that one. Slightly smaller living area, but it's got the addition of the dinette area, which we like very much.
And luckily, you're not 6 foot tall. It's hard. If you're taller than 6 foot, that probably wouldn't work for people who are really tall, like Rick from Rick and Heather. Pearl. They have got a CV20.
Oh, he's a giant of a man, isn't he?
He's 6 foot something.
I'm not sure if because I've always said I'm 5'10", but I don't know if I am anymore.
No, you're probably about 5'6", mate.
I'm probably
shrinking, yeah. But luckily, Graham's, I think he's about 5'10", and if you're about 6 foot or under, you're okay to sleep transverse or sideways. So that suited us perfectly, didn't it, really?
So we actually liked that a lot more than the CV20, and simply because of the dinette area.
Yeah, it's really handy because if you've been following us, you know that we've made a fixed bed at the end, and we've still got a lovely seating area up at the front to relax.
The only thing I was a bit disappointed, I was very pleased that we could get one from Newport Caravans, which is walking distance from where we live. But the only thing I wasn't so pleased about was that we could only get the van in white.
Yeah.
And I really wanted the grey one, sort of a metallic-y grey at the time, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Yeah, we both felt like that we wanted. It was almost a gunmetal, wasn't it?
And he said, that will cost you £500 more and a longer wait. So we went for white, which now we're not displeased with. We've grown to love Merlin as he is, haven't we?
That's right. So, the factors we took into account, to answer your question, David, was basically it was that it gave us everything we needed in a small space. It's a relatively small van which had everything that we needed. We were able to make the fixed bed, which was brilliant. We've got a little washroom, which is perfect. And that's also a drying room, which when you've got dogs and coats and things to dry, there's practical space to dry them in, and having the front seating area. So if Graham's editing, we've got a nice big table to work at, and we can sit and eat at the table without having to unmake beds and things like that. So they were the prime considerations, weren't they? That it had everything we wanted in a relatively small size.
When we first got Merlin, we did did go out in him with the rear lounge set up as a lounge, didn't we?
The first few trips.
And we liked that. That is nice. But it wasn't quite so nice when you had to make the bed up every night. And going back to our motorhome that we had, the reason we went for that particular motorhome was that it had a fixed bed. So we'd really got used to having a fixed bed and just being able to retire for the night when you wanted to. So
It's convenient, isn't it? It's just easy. You can.
It was strange though, because we'd just got the motorhome, Merv, we called him. We'd just got the motorhome to a point where we really liked it, hadn't we?
Yeah, we spent quite a lot on it. Actually,
painted him
we?
throughout, reupholstered, as I think we already said that.
Yeah.
And we'd got him just as we wanted it.
Yeah, it looked really nice, and we thought, we'll, but we always felt, apart from the odd off-grid, that we had to go to campsites with the motorhome because it was so big, wasn't it, compared to Merlin?
Yeah, we did find a few places that we regularly took the big motorhome to, Beachy Head, the Ashdown Forest down in Sussex, and the South Downs and various places there, and it was great, wasn't it?
It was. We loved it,
and we did do some wild camping in him as well.
We did, but we always were much more aware that it took a lot of space up in a car park. We've been a lot more confident about going off-grid in the smaller van in Merlin, and you're quite happy to take him most places, aren't you, really? There's less of a consideration of narrow roads and things like that with the camper. Much more dexterous and agile, so we can take the van where we want to, pretty much. So I guess that was a consideration as well. So thanks for that question.
Yes, thanks, David.
Right, next question is from Ernie Smith. Thanks, Ernie. Have you or are you both considering having a group get-together at some point? I'll let you take that one, Gray.
Well, we haven't actually decided to do it yet, but that would be quite nice. Just for people on YouTube to know what Ernie means. He's talking about we've got our own group on the Facebook pages called Wizard in the Wild, and it's a very friendly bunch. There's over 400 people on there, and sometimes people do meet up, but what Ernie's talking about there is having a group, so I suppose you'd call it an official get-together. So we've not actually arranged anything, but we may well do in the future.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a good idea, isn't it?
It is a good idea. That would. I just had this thought we'd book it and it'd just be us there. No one would come. No, seriously, we would. We think we will do it at some point. Yeah. We will do it at some point. It would be nice to actually physically meet some of the lovely people that we've met through Facebook. Maybe one summer and get together and just meet up with a few of you. It would be good.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because a lot of the people on that group are people who work. I mean, there are some retired people. I mean, we prefer to do these things midweek.
It's quiet, isn't it?
Whereas that might be hard for other people. So it's going to need a bit of thought to decide what and where. And mind you, that site we went to on the Forest of Dean, that would be a nice one to do that.
Yeah, although it's a relatively small site, I think, what is it? It's got 10 pitches, hasn't it? I think she's got 10.
It might be a few more than that.
10. She has an emergency one or two. She does. So, it's quite an intimate site, that one, isn't it?
Thing is, though, I think if you're doing a group meeting, you probably, if it's for a couple of nights, you'd probably want a local pub or something, or local restaurant as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and maybe a slightly more central location. But if any of you've got great ideas of places to meet up, let us know.
Yeah, any suggestions on that, let us know.
Put it in the comments, because we are kind of working on a list of some good places to go anyway with Merlin. So if you can think of some nice sites that you think might be quite central for people to travel to as well, that could be an option, couldn't it?
Yeah.
So thanks for that one, Ernie. Right, the next question is from Sandra Watson. Thanks, Sandra. Who has the most irritating endearments and what are they? And the wonky hat cannot be included.
Well, I haven't got any irritating endearments, have I?
No, you're perfect.
Yeah, what Sandra's referring to is the wonky hat. I've got a hat with a torch on the front of it, and when I wear it, it seems to work its way round my head.
It's got a wonky head, I think.
A lot of people were quite rude about that, actually. Yeah.
And she says, plus how long it took for the very amicable discussion. Does she mean about the irritating endearments, do we
Yes,
think?
I believe she does mean that, yeah.
So, what's my most irritating?
It's a very quick conversation for you, isn't it? Because I don't have too many irritating endearments. I suppose irritating endearments with Ellie is sometimes it's bloody hard to get a word in edgeways. You might have noticed this. In the early days of vlogging, I used to just fade her out.
Yeah, cheeky bugger. He did. We just thought you'd hear me tailing off at halfway through a sentence.
But sometimes I want to jump in and say something, and there's no space for me to do that.
No. Well, I suppose early days you're not so comfortable with the silences, are you? Whereas now, I think we've got used to you lot and
that
chatting
still must
to
be
you.
the way with you, because there aren't many silences.
What can I say? I think shall I go off and have a silent sulk?
In answer to your question, Sandra, how long did it take? We've not discussed this before, so this is how long it's taking. And I don't have any, and I've just told you what Ellie's are. So it was quite a quick conversation, really.
He has loads. And what's Graham's most irritating? Now, how am I going to limit it to just one, I wonder?
See, she can't even think of one.
No, I'm trying to think of the worst one.
No, you're not. You're trying to come up with one. You're trying to make one up.
No, I'm not trying to make one up.
Because there isn't one.
I think it's that you're very pedantic sometimes.
I wouldn't say.
He's very pedantic. It's like there's a place for everything and everything has its place, but that's only for the blue jobs, as it were.
I think you're fine. I'm just well organised.
Graham's really well organised when it comes to the things that he organises. And woe betide me if I get it wrong and something's not quite in the right place. And yet if it's a pink thing, anything goes everywhere and then I can't find it. So there's selective pedanticness. So I suppose in a small space, I suppose that's the most irritating endearment perhaps, is that there's some sort of logic that controls the things that you look after that doesn't apply to the things I look after.
Well, if that's a weak point, that I strive for perfection.
Well, yeah, I suppose. He did choose me at the end of the day, so what can I say?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. That and the naan breads.
Oh, don't get me on the naan breads.
See, him and his naan breads. He's always mentioning naan breads. Yeah. So how long did it take for the amicable discussion? About 10 minutes, was it?
No, I think it was about 3.5 minutes.
See, pedantic. Thanks for that question, Sandra. Well, thanks for watching this Q&A session. We've still got loads to answer, so thanks so much for that, and do keep them coming, and we will catch you next time with some more Q&A.
Take care.